ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णा प्रेम प्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णा चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेषु भिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य खलः प्रसीदताम् ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया मनस्य भद्रं भजता दधोक्षजे आवेश्यतां नो मतिरप्यहेतुकी। आप सभी का स्वागत है आज के इस गीता के प्रवचन में।
We welcome all of you to today's Bhagavad Gita class.
तृतीय अध्याय का 33वां श्लोक।
We are studying chapter 3, verse 33 onwards.
भगवान ने बताया था कि जो
In the previous verse, Bhagavan explained.
32 नहीं किया, ठीक है 32वां श्लोक।
So we are studying from verse 32.
तो भगवान ने 31वें श्लोक में बोला था
In the 31st verse, Bhagavan had explained
उन्हें अर्पण करके व्यक्ति को
that all the karmas should be offered to him and accordingly a person should work.
प्राप्त होगी।
This will lead him to liberation.
प्रवृत्ति करने के लिए उन्होंने
Then in 2 verses,
बताया कि
he explained by Anvaya and Vyatirek that one who follows this becomes liberated. This is what he explained in verse 31. And in 32nd, he is explaining that one who does not do this, what is the loss he suffers. So this is a way to engage a person by explaining the profit and loss, that if you do this, what is the gain? But somebody may say that what if I do not want any gain? So then he also explains that if you do not do this, what is the loss? Nobody wants any to suffer loss. If you want to engage somebody in something, you should definitely tell what is the loss in not doing that. Because even if a person does not want any benefit, at least he doesn't want any loss. In our life, whether we get happiness or no, at least we do not want suffering. Mostly we endeavor to avoid suffering. We also want happiness, but if we get both happiness and suffering, our first priority is always to eliminate the suffering. Later, we try to endeavor for happiness. It is not that if I have suffering, let the suffering continue and I will keep endeavoring for happiness. No. First, everyone tries to get rid of the suffering. So, this is human mentality that we do not want suffering. So, Bhagavan is telling here.
सर्वज्ञान विमूढ़ांस्तान विद्धि नष्टान चेतसः परंतु जो लोग
Translation, but those who are envious and do not adhere to this teaching of mine, know them to be deluded in the matter of all knowledge, succumbed to ruin and bereft of discriminating intellect. So as in the previous verse, he had explained that those who are Shraddhalu, those who are free from envy, those who have faith, along with doing karma, how can they remain free from bondage? Here he is explaining the opposite thing, that those who are to be envious means to ascribe faults to good qualities in others. It is also called asuya. So such people and Bhagwan's opinion regarding karmarpana, bereft of the sense of doership. What is the result he is explaining here? So he is telling 3 points here. First of all, that they are deluded in the matter of all knowledge. So vimuda means like a person becomes unconscious and such a person does not know what is to be done, what is not to be done. Similarly, for such a person, his life is as if he is not conscious. He cannot take any decision, what is good for him, what is not good for him. So such a person, he engages in many actions, but they all lead to suffering only. So this is called delusion. This is the state of delusion. One who cannot understand things properly. Like Bhagavan explains in chapter 16 of Gita, that those who are demoniac, they do not know what should be done and what should not be done.
सर्वर्थान विपरीतान से बुद्धि सा पार्थ तामसी, तो ये तामसी बुद्धि होती है जिसको ये
So this is tamasic intelligence, due to which a person does not understand what is dharma, what is adharma. He considers dharma to be adharma and vice versa. So the natural result of such a lifestyle is suffering only. Do not expect any happiness. There may be some temporary benefit, like people who smoke, so they experience some temporary pleasure, some peace of mind temporarily in any kind of addiction that happens, but ultimately it leads to suffering only. So this is called vimudha, deluded in all types of knowledge. They do not have proper knowledge. And
जैसे
its fundamental reason is
कि वो दोष निकालते रहते हैं दूसरों में,
they
और
keep finding faults in others
दोष
due to
निकालने के
envy.
कारण वो
And due
अहंकारी
to
बनते
this
हैं,
fault finding mentality, they cannot
और वास्तव
see
में जो
their own
दूसरों में
faults.
दोष निकालते हैं
Actually, a person who
ये
finds
उसके
faults in
लक्षण
others,
है कि वो दोष
this is
अपने में
a
भी है।
symptom of his own
उसको दूसरे में दिखाई
faults.
देता है लेकिन अपने में नहीं दिखता है, क्योंकि हमारी
He,
आंख
he sees faults in
दूर
others,
की वस्तु को देख
not in
लेती है, लेकिन जो
himself.
हमारे
Like
पास
our
है वो
eyes
उसको नजर
can
नहीं
see
आता।
things which are at little
तो इसी
distance, but
प्रकार
things which are
जिस प्रकार
extremely
वो
close to us, we cannot see them.
दूसरों में दोषारोपण करता रहता है,
Similarly, a
केवल
person
अपने
keeps
गुणों को
finding
देखता है,
faults in others,
लेकिन अपने
even
में
in
नहीं
their
देखता।
good qualities, but he never
और
sees
इस
any
प्रकार
fault in himself or
वो
herself.
अपनी वाणी से ही
In this
दूसरों के
way,
लिए कष्ट के
by
बीज
his
बोता है,
own speech,
क्योंकि वो
he
जिस
sows the
जिस
seeds of
चीज में बुरा
suffering.
होता है दूसरों में,
Because
जिस
one who
चीज में
criticizes
गलत
others,
बात करता है उसका
one
फल
who
तो वो भोगेगा,
finds fault in others, he has to
तो
suffer.
दोष उसमें भी आएंगे। फिर प्राय करके ऐसा देखा जाता है कि जो लोग दूसरों
Generally,
में
it is seen
ज्यादा दोष
that
निकालते हैं
those who
उनको दोष उसमें भी आ जाते
find
हैं,
lot of faults in others,
क्योंकि उनके
they
अंतर्मन में
also get those faults, even if they did not have that to begin with. That is
जैसे
because they
दूसरों
are
में
always
भेदभाव करना
meditating on
शुरू कर
others'
देते हैं,
faults.
तो
So
हमारे पर
they also start behaving
दूसरों
like
के
the other
प्रति
faulty
प्रभाव
person,
पड़ता है।
because our
जैसे हम
meditation
दूसरों
also
में अच्छे
influences
गुण
us.
देखते हैं तो
So
हमारे भी उस प्रकार के
when we
गुण
see
आते
good
हैं, हम दूसरों
qualities
में
in
भी अच्छे
others,
देखते हैं
we also imbibe
तो
those
उसी
good
प्रकार के
qualities.
दोष
But
भी
if we
हमारे में
see
भी आते
bad
हैं।
qualities in others, we
तो
also
इसलिए
will also start
इसीलिए बुद्धि
imbibing them
प्रधान कहा उसको, दोष
according to
निकालने
our
वाला।
meditation.
और ऐसा व्यक्ति जो है वो फिर क्रिया भी उसी प्रकार की
So
करता
such
है।
a person, he acts also
कई
accordingly.
बार देखते हैं हम कि लोग
Often it is seen
दोषारोपण तो
that
करते हैं और फिर उसी
people also
भाव
ascribe
में चले
faults
जाते
to
हैं,
others,
जैसे
but they
आश्रम में
also stay in that place.
सबके
Like
अंदर दोष
people come
ढूंढते
in
हैं
the ashram,
लेकिन वो
they will
दूसरों में
find
नहीं ढूंढते,
faults in everybody in the ashram,
तो
but
उनको
they will
ऐसा
stay in the ashram. They will not leave that
भगवान ने
place.
ऐसा छोड़ के चले जाइए,
If you
इसलिए वो
feel that the entire environment is polluted, why don't you leave?
और फिर
But
उसी
such a
प्रकार
person will not
उनके
leave. He will stay there and he
नष्ट हो
will keep
जाते हैं,
finding fault.
नष्टान।
And then Bhagavan says such people will
नष्ट का
be
मतलब होता है
destroyed. They will succumb to
कि
ruin.
उसकी दृष्टि से
So
दिखाई नहीं
here
देता है,
Nashta means
और
that,
नष्ट होने का मतलब होता है नष्ट धातु का मतलब होता है आदर्शन होना,
so actually Nash
तो
Dhatu
फिर कुछ
means
भी अच्छा नहीं
Adarshan,
दिखेगा,
that he will not see anything good
जो भी
anywhere.
दिखेगा
Whatever he will
वो केवल
see
दोष ही
will
दिखेगा,
be fault only.
और इससे उसका जीवन का विनाश हो जाता है,
And
उसका
that
जीवन
will
में
destroy
सुख
his
प्राप्त नहीं
life.
होता।
He will not experience any
वो
happiness in
चेतनहीन
his
होता है,
life.
यानी कि वो चेतनाहीन होता है, उसमें विवेक
So
नहीं
he
रहता
is
है।
as if unconscious,
तो जैसे
meaning
सभी
that he is bereft of
मुर्दे
discrimination.
के समान है, जीवित, उसको
It's
जीवित
like
शब्द
even though he is a living person, he is as good as a
उसका
dead
कोई मूल्य
person.
नहीं होता, कि चलता तो है वो देखता भी है लेकिन जैसे रोबोट होते
Although
हैं,
he is seeing, he is walking, but he is like a robot.
बात भी करते हैं,
You have seen
वैसे उसका
robots,
कोई
they
मूल्य
can
नहीं
walk,
होता,
they
कोई
can
चेतना
talk,
नहीं होती, वो
but
अचेतन
actually
होता
they
है।
do not have their own
वैसे ही ये
consciousness.
व्यक्ति भी होता है, क्योंकि इसका जीवन जो
They are dead
दूसरों में
matter
दोष
only.
देखता है, दूसरों में
So,
दोष देखना
such a person also,
अपनी
his
दृष्टि
life
से
continues like this
नहीं देखता
only,
है, उसकी चेतना जो है
meditating on
सीमित
others'
रहती है,
faults. He does not meditate on how
इसलिए
he
विवेक
can
है,
improve
बुद्धि
in his
केवल
life,
दोष दर्शन में निकलती है,
but his intellect always
इसलिए वो
meditates on others' faults.
विमूढ़
That's
होता है
why Bhagavan says
और वो
that such a
नष्ट
person is
नाश
deluded
हो गया और
and he
नाश
will
हो
be
जाता है।
destroyed.
तो ये सब व्यक्ति, और इसलिए वो नानुतिष्ठन्ति, वो निष्काम कर्म नहीं करेगा,
And such a
भगवान की
person does not perform Nishkam Karma
कि
because he finds faults in Bhagavan
ये
also.
सब कर्म हमको अर्पण कर
He
दीजिए,
says that Bhagavan is telling us to offer all the karma
तो
to
ऐसा
him.
व्यक्ति
Why should I do that?
दूसरों के ज्ञान से लाभ नहीं ले सकता है,
Such a person cannot derive benefit
इसलिए
from others'
इसलिए कहते हैं
knowledge.
विमूढ़ हमें, क्योंकि
That's why he is
शरीर
deluded in
में
all types of
जीवन
knowledge.
सीखते हैं अपने अनुभव से,
Because in our life
और
we
जीवन
learn by
से
our own
शिक्षा से भी
experience
सीखते हैं,
and
दूसरों
we
के
also
अनुभव से भी
learn
सीख
from
सकते हैं,
others' teachings,
लेकिन
others'
अगर हम दूसरों में
experiences.
केवल
But
दोषारोपण ही
if
करते रहते
we
हैं
only find faults in others, especially in those who are experienced, who are wise, knowledgeable, and those who are capable of teaching us. If we start finding faults in them also, then how can we expect to receive any knowledge? So then we will not learn by our own experience and we will not learn from others' experiences also. That's why Bhagavan is saying that such a person, he does not follow my teaching, because such people, they think that this shastra is nothing but the trap laid by the brahmanas to fool others, to do business. The temples are all business centers, and the doing katha, lecturing on shastra, this is all business. So such a person, he thinks like this only. So such a person, he cannot do any spiritual sadhana, any religious activity. So Bhagavan is explaining here how a faithless person and an envious person behaves. In this verse, there is a term Sarvagyan Vimudhan. We can see the sandhi in a different way also. That is Sarvagyan and Avimudhan. One is Sarvagyan Vimudhan, and other is Sarvagyan and Avimudhan. That he is
तो तान विद्धि नष्टाने चेत से, लेकिन वो लौकिक ज्ञान में ही सर्वज्ञ है.
so he is Sarvagya, but only in terms of material knowledge. He is extremely expert in material knowledge, and he has no confusion when it comes to material knowledge. But when it comes to spiritual knowledge, he has absolutely no understanding. He just finds faults in Bhagavan, in devotees. So such a person also gets destroyed. So here the natural question that arises is that if in such a situation, why do people not accept Bhagavan's teaching? What is the reason? If accepting Bhagavan's instructions are so beneficial and not accepting them leads to so much loss, then why do people not accept what Bhagavan teaches? We see that many people listen to what Bhagavan is teaching, but they do not follow. There are many people who know what Bhagavan is telling. Most of the people are like this. They know that we should speak the truth. Who doesn't know that we should not speak the truth? Who doesn't know that? Everybody knows that we should speak truth, we should not steal. There are many people who know that we should not indulge in any sort of addiction, smoking, but still they do that. So, knowingly also, why do people behave like this? What is the reason? So, regarding that, Bhagavan is telling very important verse. This and the next one is extremely important, very practical in our life.
तो इसमें वो कहते हैं सदृशम चेष्टते स्वस्याः प्रकृतेर ज्ञानवान अपि प्रकृतिम यान्ति भूतानि निग्रह किम करिष्यति. तो ज्ञानी व्यक्ति भी
Translation: even a wise person acts in accordance with his own priorly acquired nature. All living beings follow their acquired disposition. What can external restraint accomplish?
तो इसमें बताते हैं कि हमारा जो
So here Bhagavan is teaching that our mentality, how it controls us in our life. And we can easily understand this, that like there is a robot, so the way it is programmed, it functions accordingly. Like nowadays, even in factories, robots are being used. Robots can talk also. If you go to a hotel, a robot can book your room also. can book your accommodation. There are some hotels where you will not find any human being. It is totally maintained by robots.
तो वास्तव में जैसे वो काम कर रहे हैं
So
और उनको हम समझ
actually,
सकते
the
हैं कि उसी
way
तरह
they
से
are
प्रोग्राम किया गया है
working,
और उसी के
you know
अनुसार
that they have been programmed accordingly and they just function according to the
उसमें अगर
program.
आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस लगा दें तो
Now,
थोड़ा
if you
उसको
embed
सीखने में
artificial intelligence in that, then they can
तो वो
start
फिर
learning also.
उसी प्रकार ही काम
So actually, human being is also
ये
like
रोबोट
that
एक
only.
मनुष्य
There
का
is no
एक नमूना
difference.
है
The robot is nothing but a
तो जैसे
sample
ये
of
रोबोट
a
काम
human
करता
being.
है
The way
उसी
a
तरह से
robot
ये
functions, human
ये
being
ऐसा
also
करता
functions
है
accordingly.
अपनी प्रतिक्रिया
Because
बदलती
human
रहती
being
है
has only made a robot in
तो
his
हमारे
own
अंदर भी
image.
हमारे संस्कार बैठे हुए हैं हमारी
So
प्रकृति है
inside us also we have our samskaras, our prakriti is
स्वभाव या
there,
प्रकृति या संस्कार
our
उसके अनुसार
nature is there, and accordingly,
हम
according to our
चलते हैं हम
disposition,
अपने
we
क्रियाकलाप करते
function,
हैं
we do our activities,
लेकिन इसका हमको पता नहीं रहता है
but we are not conscious of that.
और हम सोचते हैं कि हम
We
स्वतंत्र हैं
think that we are
हम खुद से
independent
निर्णय ले रहे हैं
and we are
सब चीजें
taking
कर रहे हैं
decisions
लेकिन
independently, we
वास्तव में
are
जो
functioning
हमारे अंदर
independently,
भरा हुआ है
but actually,
उससे
whatever
स्वतंत्र है
is inside, it is
इसीलिए
driving
भगवान
us.
कहते हैं कि ज्ञानवान
Here,
अपि
Bhagavan is telling
जो
Jnanavan
ज्ञानी
Api
व्यक्ति है
that the
वो भी अपनी
Jnani, the
शक्ति
wise
से चलता
person,
है
even
और
he
अपनी प्रकृति
functions
को अपनाते
according to
हुए
his acquired nature,
आदमी को
then
चलता
what
है
to speak of the person who is not
तो
wise?
सदृशम
He
चेष्टते
will obviously function according
जो
to
भी
his nature.
स्वभाव है उसके अनुसार ही वो चलता है
So, every person
ये
functions
संस्कार
according to his nature.
स्वभाव
So, this
ये
samskara, this swabhava,
पूर्वजन्म
from
से
where is it acquired?
और
It
वर्तमान
is
में भी
acquired from the
पूर्व
previous
जन्म में जो हमने
previous birth,
क्रियाकलाप किए हैं
whatever
जो
we have
संस्कार
done.
बने हैं उनको लेकर हम पैदा होते हैं
Accordingly, we get the
और मनुष्य
samskaras while
जन्म में भी
taking
हमने
birth,
जो
and
क्रियाकलाप किए हैं
in
उनके
this
भी
life
संस्कार बने
also,
हैं
whatever we do, that
हमारे
also
ऊपर हमारे माँ
creates
बाप
new
का भी
samskaras.
प्रभाव रहता है
Then we are also influenced by the samskaras of our
इसलिए
parents. Like people say that his DNA or her DNA is only like that.
हमारा संग कैसा है
And
हम
our
कैसे लोगों के साथ
association
रहते
also
हैं
creates a samskaras. What type
उनका
of
प्रभाव
people we
पड़ता है
associate with, that
हमारी
influences us.
शिक्षा कैसी है
Our education
हम क्या
influences
पढ़ते हैं
us.
क्या सीखते हैं क्या
What
सुनते
we
हैं
study, what we
कैसे
hear,
स्कूल में जाते हैं
what type of school
उसका प्रभाव पड़ता है
we have in which
हमारा
have
वातावरण कैसा
studied,
है उसका भी
that
प्रभाव पड़ता
influences
है
us. Our environment influences
जो
us.
लोग ठंडे
Those
प्रदेश में
people
रहते हैं जहाँ
who
धूप
live
बहुत
in
होती
very
है
cold countries
बारिश
where
वहीं
even
बर्फ
sunlight
गिरती
is
रहती है वहाँ के लोगों का
rarely
अलग अलग
seen,
स्वभाव होता है
mostly there is snow.
और
There
जहाँ
people have different
सूर्य
nature,
ज्यादा रहता है
but in
वहाँ
those
के लोगों का
places
अलग
which are very warm,
वातावरण
there
कैसा रहता
people
है
have different nature. So your environment also influences
खाने
you.
पीने का प्रभाव
Water
ये सब
influences you, food
हमारे
influences
स्वभाव
you.
को बदलते हैं
These all factors they influence our
शास्त्रों में
swabhava.
बताया है भगवान ने
In Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Bhagavan has
आठ
explained
दस
this.
चीजों का उन्होंने नाम लिया है कि इसके कारण हमारा
There,
स्वभाव
Bhagavan has enumerated some 8 to 10 factors
इसलिए
that influence our
जगह
swabhava.
जगह का पानी
That is why
भोजन वातावरण
water, food,
इस सब से
atmosphere,
असर पड़ता है हमारे
all
स्वभाव पर
these factors
फिर हम
they influence our swabhava.
किस
And
प्रकार
then
के ग्रंथों का अध्ययन करते हैं
what type of books we
पुराने
study,
किस
what
प्रकार के
shastra
सोशल
we
मीडिया में
study,
जाते हैं
then how do we interact with the
सब
social media, that influences us.
हम किस प्रकार की उपासना करते हैं अगर हम
What
आध्यात्मिक
type
मार्ग
of
में हैं
sadhana we are performing,
उसका असर पड़ता है
what type of worship we perform, that
विचारों का क्या
influences us. What we meditate
हमारे
on,
दिमाग में क्या चलता रहता है जैसे पिछले
the
श्लोक
thoughts
में हमने
going on
बताया
in our
जो
mind, like we
पुरुषार्थी
studied in the previous verse, those who always
जिसकी
ascribe faults
दुनिया
to
की तरफ
others,
ज़्यादा उनका ध्यान जाता है तो वो
they're
उनके भी
always meditating on
उसका
others'
असर उनके ऊपर भी
faults.
पड़ता है ऐसा
So
नहीं है
that also influences them. It's not that they can remain immune to these
ऐसा
influences
अनेक बार
even
होता
while
है कि कोई
meditating on others' faults.
व्यक्ति किसी के
It often
बहुत बड़ा
happens that
ऑर्गेनाइजेशन खड़ा करता है दूसरों
a
के विरुद्ध
person
तो
creates
उसका
an
ध्यान ऐसा हो जाता है
organization
कि उसके
against
ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बुरी बन
others.
जाती है
So
अंत में
then he
इसके
focuses
विरुद्ध
so
वो
much on
काम
others'
करता है
faults that his own organization also becomes like that.
चाहे वो कम्युनिज्म हो या कुछ और हो
Whether it is
उसका
communism or
वातावरण
something
उसके
else,
पाँव हो जाता है
if you create an institution
तो इस
in
बात से
opposition to somebody
बहुत
else,
असर
and you meditate on others' faults, then your institution also becomes like that. So these all things influence us.
हमारे स्वभाव को बनाने में ये भागी हैं।
All these factors, they contribute to our swabhava. Now, among these factors, there are some on which we have no control, like the samskaras acquired from previous birth. We do not have any control over that. We do not have any choice to select our parents, our place of birth, our environment, the kind of association we received in childhood. We do not have much control over that. What type of education we receive, what type of books we study,
किस प्रकार के लोगों से हम संग करते
what
हैं,
type of people we associate with,
किस प्रकार का चिंतन करते हैं,
what type on what we meditate.
हमारे नियंत्रण में है।
These things are under our
इस पर
control.
हमको ध्यान देना चाहिए
So we should focus on these factors,
और
and
उसके अनुसार
accordingly
चलते हैं।
we should move ahead in life.
किसी व्यक्ति का स्वभाव जो है इन सब से बनता है
So every person's swabhava is influenced by these factors, and then he functions according to his swabhava.
इसमें हम उदाहरण देख सकते हैं कि
So in this we can see the example of Dhritarashtra.
जैसे यहाँ भगवान ने कहा ज्ञानवान
Like here, Bhagavan is telling Jnanavanapi, Dhritarashtra was also a wise person. It is not that he was uneducated, he was a king, he was very intelligent, he had studied in the Gurukul, so he had received very high grade of education. And Vidurji, who is most intelligent, who has written Vidurniti, himself was the counselor of Dhritarashtra. He was like brother also of Dhritarashtra. And Vyasa is like father of Dhritarashtra. And Vyasa also had advised Dhritarashtra. But despite all these
अपना स्वभाव नहीं बदल सके
facilities, despite all these good counsel, he could not change himself. He functioned according to his attachment only. And Dhritarashtra himself admitted,
भगवान श्री
it
कृष्ण
is said in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam that Bhagavan Sri Krishna had sent Akrura to find out.
तो अक्रूर ने उनको
And
जाके समझाया था ये कि आप
Akrur,
पांडवों के प्रति इस प्रकार का दुर्भाव क्यों
when he went to Hastinapur, he asked Dhritarashtra that why do you maintain such partiality against the Pandavas? Their father passed away, they are dependent on you,
भाव रखना
so you should rather have good feelings
प्रकार का
towards the
नहीं करना
Pandavas, and you should not behave in such a partial manner the way you have been behaving. You should give their share of kingdom to
ये
them.
सब उनसे सुना
So Dhritarashtra heard all this,
उसकी प्रशंसा भी की
and he also
कि आपकी
praised
वाणी बहुत
Uddhava
मधुरमयी है
that your speech is nectarian
को शांति दे रही है
and it is giving lot of peace to my heart,
मैं और सुनना चाहता हूँ
and I want to hear more such
ज्ञानी व्यक्ति है
more
जानता है कि जो
wise words from you.
बोल रहा है
So Dhritarashtra is a wise person. That's why he understands that whatever Akrur is speaking is for his own benefit. But still, what did Dhritarashtra tell at the end?
पुत्रानुराग विषय विद्युत सौदामनी था उसने कहा कि मेरे सौम्य मित्र
Dhritarashtra said, my dear friend, your speech is very nectarian
सत्यपूर्ण है
and it is full of truth.
मेरे हृदय में
But it is, but I am not able to hold your words of wisdom in my heart. Like people say, hearing from one side and letting out from the other side. So I am hearing, but I am unable to hold it
इसी
in
प्रकार
my heart.
जैसे अंधेरी रात
It's not staying.
बिजली चमकती है
It is like
तो बिजली चमकती
lightning in the dark night. So when there is lightning in the sky, suddenly, temporarily, there is light in the sky.
उसी प्रकार से आपकी वाणी जो है वो
So
चमकती है मेरे को
your
हाँ मेरा अंधकार दूर
your words of wisdom are
फिर ये
striking like lightning in my heart, but it is temporary
कारण उन्होंने बताया
and I am not able to hold it. And the reason is
कि मेरा मेरे पुत्रों में बहुत अनुराग
I
है
have extreme attachment to my
इसलिए
children,
ये आपकी
to my sons.
आपकी जो सलाह है
That is why
आप जो मेरे को ज्ञान दे रहे हैं ये
whatever instructions you are giving me, whatever you are teaching me, I am not able to hold on to them in my heart. So, due to his attachment to his sons, he could not accept the instructions of Uddhavaji. So, like this, we all function according to our Swabhava, and according to Swabhava, whatever we do it in two ways. One is we function according to our Swabhava, devoid of Raga Dvesh, and the other one is we perform according to our Swabhava, filled with Raga Dvesh. So, suppose we let's take the example of our eyes. So it is the swabhava of eyes to see whatever is in front of the eye. You do not have to perform any extra endeavor to see something. If something is in front of you, you naturally see that. You get the knowledge of that object by seeing that. But our act of seeing, that action can be bereft of raga dvesh, attachment and hatred, or it can be full of raga dvesh. The activity is same only. For, for example, if we have a book in front of us and we see that book, so anybody who sees the book, anybody, suppose there is a plate of food in front of you, whether you see that or a dog sees that or a cow sees that or a bird sees that, so their action of seeing is also like that only, that there is something, the same picture will be captured in their mind also, although they may not understand exactly the way we understand, but the same picture will be captured. So I somebody from Harvard University had analyzed this for a parrot and found that the parrot also captures the same image like human being does that. But then what happens? According to our samskara, we get the knowledge that this is a computer or this is food, but the action of seeing is same only, and that is devoid of raga dvesh. You are walking on the road, so many people they pass, you see them, so there is no raga or dvesh for those people. If you are watching or hearing news in television, so you hear that, but there is no raga dvesh. But when you are walking on the road, suppose you encounter a friend or a known person, so your samskara will get activated. You will feel happy. You will greet that friend and you will talk to him or her. But if you meet a person whom you do not like, or who is your enemy and he is coming in front of you, then you will react in a different way. That is why both these functions are same only. Both are happening by Swabhava only. But one is you are treating as a friend, the other one as an enemy. That is also coming from Swabhava only. So the only difference between a wise and unwise person is the wise person, if he is genuinely wise, then he will see bereft of ragadvesh. So Jnani is also two types. One is that he may just have knowledge but no experience, no realization. As I said, that people know that smoking is injurious to health, but they still smoke. So they are also Jnani. They have the knowledge that smoking is injurious. But the other one, other Jnani, other wise person is the one who knows and who also acts according to the knowledge. So even a wise person acts according to his swabhava only. Even if somebody becomes a Siddha Purush, if he is from Bengal, then he will like to eat rice only. If he is from Germany, then he will like to eat bread only. So his swabhava, his prakriti, his nature, he will act according to that. The difference is that the genuinely wise person, he will be bereft of raga dvesh. The other one will be full of raga dvesh. Even the wise person will function according to prakriti only. according to his nature only. That's why all wise people are not same. People think that if somebody has become a siddha, then he should function according like that only. Because you have heard in Shastra that Siddha Purushas are like this or that, or you have heard some stories of some Siddha Purushas, so you think that all are same. It is not like that. Every Siddha Purusha is unique, he has his own Swabhava, he has been born with a certain Prakriti. So that cannot be changed. It is extremely difficult to change the Swabhava. He will not perform those actions out of raga dvesh, or he will not behave in rajasic and tamasic way, but the other actions they will remain same only. Why does he have to change that? If he likes a certain type of food, then why should he not take that type of food uh, if it is anukul to his health? So gyanis are of two types. So in the spiritual path, people make this mistake that he was this type of sadhu, this is like this. So the different sadhus have different swabhav. No two people can have the same swabhav, because you see that every person has a unique history, and you never know who has come from where from his past life. So every person will have a different swabhav, and we see this in our body also. Every person has a unique thumbprint. Every person has a different nowadays people scan the in airport, you have these iris scanners. So every it is unique to everybody. So at the material level, if we have so much of difference, then why not at the mental level, if it is there at the bodily level? So we acquire the body according to bhava only. So every person has his own unique swabhava, and we have to understand this, and we have to know this, because if we know this, it will help us a lot. One is that we are dealing with different people. When we understand others' swabhava, we will not be disturbed. That we generally think why he is doing like this, why he is doing like that. So when we know somebody's swabhava, we adjust ourselves accordingly and deal with that person, because we know that he cannot change. He will work like that only. That swabhava may be favorable or unfavorable to you, but if you understand that this is just a swabhava and he is working as a robot only, then why to blame him? What is his fault? Yeah, if once you understand the other person's swabhava, you deal in a way that you do not get into any trouble. You can work accordingly. So the way you function according to your swabhava, the other one also does that. But this does not mean that we should not behave properly. This is not what Bhagavan intends to speak here. He is just explaining the process, how any person functions. Because in the previous verses, he explained that what is the benefit of accepting his instructions and loss of not accepting. So the question may be raised, why people do not accept. So here he is explaining why they do not accept, because everyone works according to his swabhava, and it is very difficult to change that. One has to really endeavor to change that. So it is better to understand others' swabhava. And in order to understand the other person's swabhava, you have to give him freedom. If you give freedom to the other person, then you will completely understand his swabhava. Like here it is said, what is the use of external restraint? So people are forced that you have to wake up at this time in the morning, you have to do this or that. So he knows that if you don't, it does not follow this, he will be removed. But that is not swabhava. You understand the swabhava of a person when you give him full freedom. So what he does in that state of freedom, then you understand what is his swabhava. So here nigraha means external restraint. Like earlier Bhagavan had explained about mithyachar, hypocrisy.
इंद्रियार्थान विमूढ़ अर्थान मिथ्याचार से विच्यते। तो मिथ्याचार है क्योंकि वो अंदर से वो नहीं बदल रहा है।
So the
बाहर का
person
सब
who is just showing external
इसलिए कहते हैं
restraint
आत्म संयम
but
की
not
वजह से ही
changing
ऐसा होता है
internally is a mithyachari, hypocrite.
जहाँ लोग बहुत
So this
अच्छे
external restraint can be imposed by others
लेकिन मन में
also.
कुछ
In many places, we see
बंधन है,
people
प्रावधान है
work
कि आप ऐसा नहीं करोगे
according to rules,
तो दंडित
regulations.
होगे, तो लोग फिर क्या करते
Otherwise,
हैं, उसको
there
त्याग
will be
देते हैं,
punishment. So people follow that.
उनको
So remove the
स्वभाव
rule
ऐसा होता है।
regulation, then you see what is other
लेकिन
swabhava.
कभी विदेश में ऐसा होता नहीं है, लेकिन एक दो बार ऐसा हुआ, न्यूयॉर्क में बिजली नहीं आई 24
Many
घंटे।
times we see it is not in.
तो जैसे ही बिजली नहीं आई, कितना लोगों ने
So once it happened in foreign country
उसको पीट
that there was no electricity,
पहले क्या
then
होता
there
था,
was so much of
बिजली नहीं आती
stealing
थी
and
तो
theft. Why was it? Why did it
ये
not happen
ये
earlier?
ये
Simply because due to fear.
बाह्य संयम
So
नहीं
once
था,
the fear goes
सब
away,
आगे।
the fear of
और जो
following external restraint goes away,
जैसे लगेंगे
person
हाँ
starts working according to internal swabhava. So when there are a lot of rules regulations, you may feel
हुआ अंदर
that this place is very nice,
तो इसलिए
there is
भगवान कहते
no
हैं कि
theft or anything. But if you remove that restriction, you will see the real swabhava.
क्या
That's why
करते हैं,
Bhagavan is telling here,
आपको
what is the use of this external restraint?
बुद्धि का
Because
प्रयोग
you are
करना
being driven by your internal swabhava.
तब तक
Until and unless you use your
बुद्धि ऐसे ही
buddhi,
आपको चलाती
your
रहेगी।
swabhava
इसीलिए
will control you.
हमारे जो
That is why
संस्कृति है,
in our Vedic
जिसको
culture,
आजकल हम हिंदू धर्म बोलते हैं,
which is nowadays
उसने
called
जो
Hindu
संस्कार की
religion,
व्यवस्था बनाई थी,
so in Vedic
सारे संस्कार
culture,
गर्भाधान से ही
there was
संस्कार
a
बनाए
system
गए,
of samskara
उसके
starting
पीछे यही
from
साइंस थी। और
conception, the Garbhadan samskar. So
बुद्धि
that was the
इतना
science.
इनको ज्ञान था कि
These
जन्म
people
पहले
had
से ही
so
संस्कार
much knowledge that
स्वभाव को
a
बदलने का
human
सारा
being
प्रोग्राम जितना भी
is being made
वेद में
civilized,
है,
cultured right from the
कि
stage
आप
of conception
जाओ, ये
itself.
करो, परिक्रमा करो,
All these
तो
system of
इसलिए
going to
जो संस्कार
pilgrimage,
दिया गया
taking bath in the
आपको संस्कृति
river,
का,
the whole
उसको संस्कार
purpose
करना,
behind all these
इसलिए उसको संस्कार
injunctions
बोलते हैं।
is to make the person cultured,
और वो
civilized,
गर्भाधान से ही बना
Samskrita.
दी उन्होंने, क्योंकि वो
And
वहीं
that
से वो
begins
वहीं
in Vedic
पैदा
culture,
हुए,
it begins from the
और
stage of
वही
conception itself.
वास्तव में
Because
गर्भाधान में
if
ही
the
वो
problem is in the
थी
seed
माता,
itself, then what can be
गर्भ में जो
done?
है वो क्षेत्र था,
Actually,
माता
the
जो है वो बीज
actually
थी।
the preparation was
जैसे खेती
done
करते
even
हैं,
before conception because the mother is the
बुआई
field
करते हैं, उसको
and
जोतते हैं,
the father is
उसमें से
plowing the
बीज
field.
निकालते
So,
हैं,
like you
फिर उसमें अच्छा बीज
prepare
बोते
the
हैं,
field
फिर
initially
उसमें वो
before sowing the seed, then only
तो
you can
उसी
expect good
उसी
crop.
प्रकार
So, human life is also like
प्रकृति ने
that.
ये सब नियमावली बनाई थी
And for
कि
that,
वो एक
there are
संस्कार
rules and regulations. If you study
इसी
Ayurveda,
के पूरा एक भाग आयुर्वेद का 8 भागों में से एक भाग इसी पर ही है,
in
कौमार वृत्ति
Ayurveda, one section is this
उसमें
itself, that is
सारा
Kaumara
कुछ
Bhritya, that
पैदा करते
how
हैं,
how to
क्या खाना चाहिए,
give
क्या नहीं
birth
खाना
to
चाहिए,
a good child,
पिता को क्या खाना चाहिए, किसको
what
क्या
mother
खाना
should eat,
चाहिए।
not eat, what father
उसके
should
बाद
eat,
में
should not eat,
फिर 9 महीने 10
how
महीने
to do
बाद में
Garbhadan,
और
and then
संस्कार, उन
what are the
संस्कारों को
different
शुरू
samskaras
करते हैं।
during the pregnancy period,
फिर बच्चा जब जन्म होता है, संस्कार, तो ये
and
सारे
then when
संस्कार
the
इसमें
child is
होते हैं,
born, different samskaras are
कि
there.
उसका जो चित्त
So
है
these samskaras
वो
were done
संस्कृत हो जाए,
for this reason only, that
और
his
वो
chitta
समाप्त हो जाए।
becomes purified, cultured. But nowadays that
उसका
system
महत्व जो है वो
is
भूल
more or
गए हैं,
less extinct.
और
People have forgotten the
जब तक
importance
हो
of
रहा
these
है ये,
samskaras.
अब उसको नियंत्रित
So
कीजिए, तो
if you
हमारे
have a
सारे
population
उपकरण
which
खराब
is
करने पड़ते
uncultured, uncivilized, then
हैं। अब हर
how
जगह
many
सीसीटीवी
rules,
लगाइए,
regulations, restrictions are required to
हर
control
जगह
them?
नियम बनाइए,
You have to
कानून
install
व्यवस्था,
CCTV cameras everywhere, make frame so many
पुलिस,
rules,
ये सब किसके लिए है?
law,
इसी लिए है कि
police,
किस तरह
etc.
से
It is
मनुष्य को
all
नियंत्रण
meant
में रखा जाए।
to keep the
लेकिन
human
अगर
being under
नियंत्रण से ही
control.
उसका प्रोग्राम ठीक नहीं है,
But what if you have
तो
installed the
फिर
correct
नुकसान ही
program
होगा।
inside only? Then you do
और
not
उसको
need all
करने के लिए तो
this.
बहुत कम आवश्यकता
And
पड़ती
even
है।
if you need, you will need at a minimal level,
तो
not
इसलिए
to the extent we need it
बाहर का जो
now.
निग्रह है, इसको निग्रह
So
बोलते हैं,
this external
निग्रह
restraint,
करने
which
का
is called
प्रयास करना,
nigraha,
चाहे वो
this
पुलिस से
external
है, चाहे
restraint,
आर्मी से है,
whether it
चाहे
is
कानून से है,
through police or the army
तो
or the
न्याय व्यवस्था,
judiciary.
तो वो अंदर के स्वभाव को नहीं बदलता।
So these systems, they do not change the internal
बार बार पालन
swabhava.
करने से
Yeah,
हमारा
although you may say
अच्छा
that
हो जाता है,
when
लेकिन अंदर से जो
some rules, regulations are imposed continuously, our Swabhava also changes to some extent internally, but still the Raga Dvesha remains.
लेकिन यहाँ पर भी
So
हम इसी
later Bhagavan will
तरीके से
speak about
अगर वही
how
क्रिया
to change
हम राग
this.
द्वेष को छोड़कर करें,
But here the point is, if we do those
तो
same actions bereft of Raga
गलत
Dvesh,
क्रिया तो होगी,
because according to Swabhava we will work.
लेकिन उस क्रिया के पीछे अगर हम राग द्वेष को छोड़ दें,
But if we give up the Raga Dvesh behind that
तो
action,
यही यही
then we
आर्ट
do
है
not get bound to that. This
जिसको
is
गीता
the
में कहा गया
art
है
that Bhagavan is teaching. Earlier also he
निराशीर्मा
said,
भूत्वा, तो निराशी निर्ममो भूत्वा, इन शब्दों का बार बार प्रयोग करते हैं। यस्तु आत्मरीति ये
he is using
स्यादात्मजित
these words again and again.
तो हर जगह इसी बात को कहेंगे। तत्ववित्तु
In many
महाबाहो
places he will speak like
आत्मना
this.
गुणेषु वर्तन्ते इति मत्वा न सज्जते, उसमें वो आसक्त नहीं होता है। और भगवान स्वयं इसको बोलते हैं, तस्माद असक्त सत्यम कार्यम कर्म समाचर, सक्तो ही आचरण कर्म परमाप्नोति पुरुष। तो बार बार उनका जो बल है,
So repeatedly he is laying stress.
वो ये नहीं कह रहे कि आप काम मत कीजिए,
He
आप
is not telling that you do not work.
जाएगा आपकी
He is
प्रवृत्ति
telling that you
नहीं
have to
कर्तव्य
work.
कर्मपि जातु तिष्ठति,
That is your nature.
कार्यते है वश्य कर्म, अवश्य आपको कार्य करना पड़ेगा।
You have to function, you have to work.
करने की
But
विधा
what is the art of working?
क्या है वो बताते हैं कि इस तरह
That
से
is what Bhagavan is
वो
teaching,
उसका
how you should work.
उनका जो मंत्र है, जो फॉर्मूला है,
So
वो राग
the
द्वेष को
formula
छोड़कर
behind proper work is
और
to work without
निष्काम
raga and dvesh, without attachment and
तो
hatred. That is the
फिर आप
real art of
इस बंधन
working.
से मुक्त हो जाएंगे।
And if you work like that without raga
तो इसके
dvesh,
लिए दो
then
चीजें
you will be liberated.
एक तो हमें
And for this,
इस
two
पूरी
things are
प्रक्रिया को समझना होगा कि
required. One
हमारा
is
कैसे
we have
चलता
to
है, हमारा
understand
अंतर
this
स्वभाव क्या है,
whole process, the whole system,
जो
how it
हमारे
is
से कहा
designed,
गया
how
है।
it functions,
हमने
what is
वैदिक
our
टेस्ट
swabhava.
बनाया है, वैदिक
We have
साइकोलॉजी
also designed a
इंस्टीट्यूट की वेबसाइट पे
swabhava test
टेस्ट ले
in
सकते
our
हैं।
Vedic
ये बहुत आवश्यक है
psychology
अपना
website.
स्वभाव
So
जानना।
this is very important to understand
इसको
our
नहीं
own
जाना है,
swabhava.
जिनके साथ में आपको काम करना है वो जाना है तो और भी अच्छा है, लेकिन अपना तो
If you
जानना ही
understand
चाहिए।
others' swabhava, that is even better. But we
पहले तो
should
ये
definitely know our own swabhava at
आपको अपनी
least.
बुद्धि का
This
प्रयोग
is the
करना
first
है। मैं
step.
बार बार बोलता हूँ, मैं
Secondly,
क्या बोलता हूँ, मैं
what I
बुद्धि का
always
प्रयोग
say,
बार बार
in
किया
fact,
करो।
it is not what I say, it is what
जो भगवान ने दिया
Bhagavan is
है,
repeatedly
भगवान ने
saying,
दुनिया का कोई
use your buddhi.
ऐसा धर्म ग्रंथ नहीं है
There is no
जिसमें बुद्धि
other
के ऊपर इतना
scripture in this
जोर
world
नहीं है।
which has placed so much emphasis on buddhi
गीता में
as much as
बार
what
बार
Gita has
बात
done.
को लाते हैं।
In Gita, again and again, Bhagavan gives stress on using our
ज्ञान का
buddhi, our
प्रयोग करना
intelligence.
मनुष्य के लिए।
This is very practical for every human
बुद्धि
being.
से क्या प्रयोग करना है कि हमारी
So,
जैसा हमारा स्वभाव है,
how we are supposed to use our
स्वभाव के
buddhi?
अनुसार हमारे मन में
We
इच्छाएं
know
होती हैं
that according to our swabhava, we will have
और उस
desires in
इच्छा
our
के
mind,
अनुसार फिर आप
and according to the desires, we will work.
तो जब इच्छा आएगी तो
So, when
वहां
we
पे
will
आपको
get the
बुद्धि को
desire,
लगानी है।
at that time we have to use our buddhi.
बुद्धि तो हम लगाते हैं, हम अपनी इच्छा को
Now, you
पूरा
may
करने
say
के लिए
that we do use our buddhi, our
जब
intelligence to
इच्छा
fulfill our
आती है
desires.
अपनी बुद्धि लगाते हैं,
If some
ऐसा
desire
नहीं है
arises in the mind, we do use our intelligence to fulfill the desire.
बुद्धि
Everyone
की
does
बात मैं
that.
नहीं कर रहा हूँ, वो
But I am not
बुद्धि
talking about that type of buddhi, that is
बुद्धि जिससे
polluted
डिस्क्रिमिनेट
intelligence.
होता है
The buddhi that I am speaking of is
कि लाभ
discrimination,
हानि क्या है,
by which we
बेनिफिट
can
क्या है।
discriminate between
इसको
dharma,
आपको पहचान
adharma,
करना है कि ये जो
benefit,
इच्छा मेरे मन
loss,
में आई है, क्या इसको पूर्ति करने
to
से
discriminate
मेरा उद्देश्य
that
पूरा
whatever
होगा।
desire has arisen in my mind,
उनका जो
if I
उद्देश्य है
fulfill this desire,
उनको
will it
मुक्ति प्रदान
help
करना
me,
है,
will it lead me
प्राप्त करना है।
to
अगर
achieve
आपको
the
अपने
goal of
उद्देश्य
my
को पूरा
life, to
करना
get
है
liberated, to
और
get
अगर आप
spiritual
कोई
happiness,
उद्देश्य नहीं है, इस जीवन में भी आप
or
सुखी
at
रहना
least
चाहते हैं,
even
तो आपको ये
to
देखना
be
होगा
happy
कि
in
इस
this
इच्छा
life
को पूर्ति
itself.
करने से क्या
So
मुझे
you should analyze
मिलेगा।
that
और
by
वास्तविक
fulfilling
जीवन
this
में ये सब
desire,
होना काफी
will I
मुश्किल है।
actually derive happiness? And actually deriving happiness means I am not speaking about
ऐसा भगवान अक्सर
temporary
बताते हैं।
happiness, because that is also of three
अंतिम
types.
परिणाम उसका सुख है या नहीं, ये आपको
So
देखना पड़ेगा।
you have to use your buddhi to analyze
तो अगर ऐसा नहीं
whether
है
fulfilling this desire will
तो फिर आप
lead to
अपने
ultimate benefit or no. If it does not lead to ultimate benefit, then do not use your intelligence, your buddhi to fulfill the desire. And this is where people make the mistake. All the problems arise at this point itself. If our buddhi and our desire
जिसके अनुसार हम कर्म करते हैं वो एक
by
पक्ष
which
में
we do work, if they remain
हमारा कल्याण होगा
on one side, then it will lead to our benefit. But then what is happening is our buddhi is telling us, don't do this, this is wrong. But still we do that.
और हमारे
That
क्रियाकलाप
means our
अलग अलग केंद्रों में खड़े हो गए
functioning and our buddhi, they are standing in the opposite parties.
तो इसलिए
They
बुद्धि
stand against each other. So
आघात है
that brings suffering.
और
That
उसी
is
से
why we have to use our buddhi, our intelligence properly,
नहीं तो
our discrimination
हम अपनी
ability
बुद्धि के
properly,
अनुसार
and
चेष्टा
that
करेंगे
will lead to our ultimate
सदृशम
benefit.
चेष्टते यहाँ चेष्टा शब्द
Otherwise, we will just keep on working.
इच्छा शब्द का प्रयोग नहीं किया है
Here, Bhagwan has used the
भगवान ने
word
कहा सदृशम चेष्टते
cheshtate.
यानी कि उसके अनुसार वो चेष्टा करता है
So, accordingly, he does cheshta, he works. So, you work according to your nature,
अपनी
but
बुद्धि का उपयोग
in between, you also use your
और अगर उस
buddhi.
चेष्टा को बदल भी नहीं सकते मानो आपका
So
इतना
by using the buddhi, we can change the cheshta, the work.
पूर्व के
And
अभ्यास
even if you are not able to change it,
एडिक्शन
if you have too much
तो कम
addicted
से कम उसको
to some
छोड़ने
previous
समय
habits,
उससे
then what you
बदला
should
नहीं
do, at least when you are engaging in that
मानसिक स्थिति
activity,
से
then
राग
you should
द्वेष
just remain like a witness. You should not become
आसक्ति
immersed
से
in that out of raga and
उसमें
dvesh.
आपकी आसक्ति समाप्त हो जाएगी
If you just remain as a witness while engaging in that bad habit because you are addicted to it,
मैं आपको
then slowly you will be able to come out of it.
इसका पालन
So, this is a very practical advice that I am giving you,
सबसे मुक्त कर सकते हैं
and you can try this
और
and get rid of those bad habits,
में जो अपनी साधना है उसको
and then you can move ahead in your spiritual life.
वास्तव में यहाँ गीता में जो बताया गया है
So,
गीता में
actually,
जो
what is being
को
taught in Gita here, what Bhagavan is
शाम को
speaking to
बैठा
Arjuna,
हुआ है
and
दोनों
Duryodhan
भगवान के
is
पास
standing in front.
सहायता के लिए
Both Arjun and Duryodhan had approached Bhagavan for help, and both are Bhagavan's
अर्जुन
relatives.
की पुत्री
Duryodhan's daughter
भगवान कृष्ण के पुत्र शाम को ब्याही
is
हुई है
married to
दोनों
Bhagavan's
संबंधी हैं एक
son
दूसरे के
Sambh. So, in this way, Duryodhan and Bhagavan are relatives.
अर्जुन ने कहा था
But the
कि ठीक है
difference
हम
between both Duryodhan and Arjun is that Arjun had
प्रबंध कि मुझे शिक्षा दीजिए मैं आपकी शरणागत हूँ
accepted Bhagavan as his guru,
को भी भगवान ने शिक्षा दी थी
and Bhagavan had given instructions to Duryodhan also
शांतिदूत बनकर
before the war when he had approached as peace messenger
पिताजी को भी
in
सिखाया
the court of
दुर्योधन
Hastinapur.
क्या करता था वो
He explained to Dhritarashtra also. But
जेल में
then, how
डालकर
did Duryodhan
कारागार
react?
में डालना चाहता था
He
भगवान कृष्ण
wanted to bind Bhagavan
दोनों में
and
अंतर है
imprison him. So, this is the difference between Arjun and
शिक्षा
Duryodhan.
भी लेता है और
So,
दूसरी तरफ
on one side there is Arjun who is taking shelter of Bhagavan. On the other side there is Duryodhan who
वास्तव
wants
में
to
वो
bind Bhagavan.
ज्ञानी है दुर्योधन का भी एक
It
वाक्य
is
है
not that Duryodhan is a fool.
इसी श्लोक से मिलता जुलता है
Duryodhan also has a verse
न च मे
which
प्रवृत्ति
matches this.
जानामि अधर्मम न मे प्रवृत्ति न मे निवृत्ति केनापि देवेन हृदय स्थितेन यथा नियुक्तोऽस्मि तथा करोमि वो कहता मैं जानता हूँ धर्म क्या है
Duryodhan
खुद में
says,
है
I know what is dharma. This is Duryodhan who is
मैं मेरा
telling what is dharma. But then he says,
धर्म
I
जानता
do
हूँ
not find interest in dharma.
लेकिन
Then he
उसको
says,
छोड़ नहीं
I know
सकता
what is adharma, but I am not able to give up adharma or irreligiosity.
स्वभाव वो तो देव शब्द
So,
का प्रयोग
so he
किया
is telling that somebody is sitting inside me.
वास्तव में वो केवल
Although he uses the word
स्वभाव
deva, but it refers to his swabhava only.
कोई अंदर से मेरे को चला रहा है
So he
जिससे मैं
says
चल
that
रहा
there
हूँ
is somebody inside me who is driving me,
तो
and according to that, I am
बात
just moving
तय
ahead.
करके ऐसी होती है
So
कि मैं
generally,
जो
this is the
आदर्श देखता
situation
है
of
जो
humanity.
आदर्श है वो
But
दुर्योधन नहीं है वो
our
अर्जुन है ये
ideal example is Arjuna,
उपनिषद
not Duryodhan.
कथानक व्यास जी ने लिखा
And Vyasa has
भगवद
given
गीता के लिए
has narrated these leelas to explain these teachings to us. So it is up to us whether we want to become Arjun or Duryodhan, and we know
अर्जुन की जांग टूटी
the destination of both the people.
जंघा टूटी अंतिम दिन में और पड़ा हुआ है
Duryodhan suffered so terribly at the end of the war.
उसको गीदड़
He was just
भेड़िए
lying down,
कोई उसके मांस को
he
नहीं
was
खा रहा
helpless, and the
और
vultures, etc.
राज्य किया और स्वर्गारोहण किया
Arjun at the end
यही
he
परिणाम समझ के
went to the
हमें
Swarga.
देखना है कि हम किसका
So
अनुसरण
we
करना
have
चाहते हैं
so we have to analyze both, and we have to decide
भगवान हमको
whom
यहाँ
we want to
बताते हैं
follow. So Bhagavan is
हिसाब से
giving very
व्यक्ति
deep
चलता है
instruction here
प्रकृति से चलता है
how
लेकिन
human
फिर
being
भी
functions
उस प्रकृति से
according to
ऊपर
his prakriti, swabhava,
वो
or his nature,
अपना कल्याण
but then
कर
he
सकता
can
है
rise above this and
और यही बात अर्जुन को
make his life successful.
बताई
And
क्योंकि
this
अर्जुन
is
ने
what
कहा
he
कि मैं युद्ध
taught
नहीं
Arjun,
करूंगा
because Arjun had also
उन्होंने
said
कहा कि
that
तुम युद्ध
I
नहीं
do not
करोगे
want to fight.
अत्ते तो उन्होंने कहा अथचेत त्वम
So Bhagavan said
न श्रोष्यसि विनक्ष्यसि अगर तुम युद्ध नहीं करोगे और ये सोचते हो
that if you refrain from fighting in this war,
केवल प्रकृति ही तुमको
but
प्रकृति
what will happen is that your own nature will force you to engage in the war.
योग वहां पर किया कहता
There
है
also Bhagavan had used the word Prakriti, that this decision of yours is false.
तो सार बात ये
Your
है कि
nature will
युद्ध
force
जो
you
है
to engage in the war.
कठिन है लेकिन
So
उसको
the essence is that it is very difficult
संसार
to change the
राग
nature,
द्वेष से
but
मुक्त
then
होके हम
the
क्या
point is how we can work according to our nature,
मैं जानता
devoid
हूँ
of raga dvesh,
कि कृपा से
take shelter of Bhagavan,
तरिष्यसि
and by the mercy of Bhagavan,
सर्वदा सर्वदुर्गाणि मत प्रसादात् तरिष्यसि कि मेरे कृपा से
as
आप
Bhagavan
सब
says,
कठिनाइयों को
that by my mercy you will be
और
able
अगर
to
मेरी
cross over all the
शरण नहीं
obstacles.
आते हो
But if you do
अपने
not take
अहंकार
my
के कारण
shelter
अपने अहंकार के कारण तो न श्रोष्यसि विनक्ष्यसि आपका
out of
विनाश
your own
होगा
ahankara,
यहाँ पे
then
लिखा
you
है
will be destroyed.
विद्धि
Your
नष्टम
life will be ruined.
तो आज का प्रवचन यही
So we will stop here, and
समाप्त करते हैं
if you have
किसी
any
का कोई प्रश्न
question,
हो तो पूछ
you can ask.
धन्यवाद बाबा जी।
Question?
जैसे क्या कहते हैं ये पीछे बोला गया मतलब श्लोक में ही था कि प्रकृति और प्रवृत्ति
Like it was said earlier,
संस्कार और
that
इस
Prakriti,
प्रारब्ध में जो
nature, it's acquired from the previous birth,
उसके अनुसार मनुष्य
and
इस तरीके का
Prarabdha has
श्रद्धा
been,
और
according to Prarabdha, we have this body,
अश्रद्धालु और ईर्ष्यालु हो जाता है।
and we become
आपने
envious
उसकी
and
सिद्ध
faithless.
की बात करी थी
You
कि जो
spoke
सिद्ध
about
है
Siddha, that
तो
those who
सिद्ध
are
पुरुष
Siddhas, the Siddha Purusha,
सिद्ध पुरुष तो स्वरूप शक्ति से चलते हैं ना, वो बाहरी
so
भगवान की
they
शक्ति से
function
चलते हैं।
according to Swarupa Shakti.
उनका शरीर नहीं होता शरीर
So
होता है
answer, do they not have a body?
तो शरीर की प्रकृति है या नहीं है
So even they have a body, the body has its own nature or no?
पी लें
Suppose a Siddha Purusha, suppose he
तो उनकी
by
मृत्यु
mistake
होगी
he consumes poison. You think he will
स्वरूप
die or
शक्ति
no?
कहेगी कि नहीं जहर
Or
खाओ
Swarup Shakti will say that no, poison will not have any effect.
उसमें भी एक
सिद्ध पुरुष दवाई लेते हैं नहीं बीमार हो जाते हैं
When Siddha Purushas
लेते हैं
fall
नहीं
sick, they take medicine or no?
लेते तो हैं।
तो दवाई का असर उनके शरीर पर होता है या नहीं होता है
So that medicine improves their health or
दवाई का
no?
असर तो भौतिक शरीर पर ही हो रहा है उनके अंतरंग
So the
शरीर पर क्या
medicine
काम कर रहे हैं
is
भौतिक शरीर
influencing the body or no?
और दवाई
लेकिन
भी
जो एक्टिविटीज हैं जो
The disease is on the body.
तो क्रिया मैंने बताया ना उनका भी तो स्वभाव होता है ना
So they also have their own swabhava.
वो भी भोजन करते हैं
They will also fall
है
asleep.
उससे
They
चलते
will
हैं
also take food. They also have their own
वो
prakriti
अपने
according to which they function.
अंतरंग
Bhagavan,
शक्ति के मालिक हैं अंतरंग
Even Bhagavan has a swabhava, although he is the owner of Antaranga Shakti. He has his own
राग द्वेष
swabhava or
है
no?
या नहीं है
हाँ वहाँ पर राग द्वेष नहीं है ना।
तो ऐसे ही वो भी राग द्वेष नहीं
So
होगा ना
just like Bhagavan does not work by Raga Dvesh, similarly Siddha Purush also does not
शक्ति तो शरीर
work
के
by
मालिक
Raga
है,
Dvesh.
करेगी या
even if he has Antaranga Shakti, the Siddha Purush, that will also manifest through the body only or no? Siddha Purush will also see through his eyes only. Suppose there is a wise person and he gets cataract, so he will also, his vision will also become blurred or no? You think, you think it will not affect him? So Gyanvan means he also works according to Prakriti. He is free from Raga Dvesh. He will work for Bhagavan only. He is surrendered to Bhagavan. But he has his own Prakriti. He is working not just by Prakriti. An ordinary human being functions just by Prakriti, just by his nature. But as I said, that along with Prakriti, you use your Buddhi. And when it comes to Siddha Purusha, then the Antaranga Shakti is also functioning.
प्रश्न है सर्व
Next question.
ज्ञान विमूढ़ान में अविमूढ़ा कैसे बना?
How did you say avimudha in Sarva Gyan Vimudha? So if you know Sanskrit, you will understand.
का बहुवचन क्या होगा? सर्वज्ञः, सर्वज्ञौ, सर्वज्ञः, सर्वज्ञम, सर्वज्ञौ, सर्वज्ञान। तो सर्वज्ञान को अलग कर दीजिए।
So the
अविमूढ़
Dvitiya Bhuvachan, that will be Sarva Gyan. So you remove that and there is avimudha.
ज्ञान अविमूढ़।
So
गुस्तावो जी का प्रश्न है
next
क्या बुरी
question.
आदत के प्रति
Does
साक्षी
standing as a
बनना
witness
बुरा
to
है
a bad
या
habit
भावनाहीन
mean
रहने की कोशिश करें?
trying to remain emotionless?
भावनाहीन का मतलब वो मैंने बताया कि उसमें राग राग
So as I said,
भावपूर्ण
you should not
मत कीजिए।
even if you have an addiction to any bad habit, when you are engaging in it,
राग से है
do not do it with
राग का
attachment,
आपका संस्कार
being
आपको
immersed in
प्रभावित
it.
होगा।
Otherwise if you do that,
कर
it
करेंगे
will, your samskara will become more strong.
दुर्बल हो जाएगा, फिर धीरे धीरे आप उसको
And if you do it without raga, it will become, it will lose its strength and slowly you will give it up.
प्रश्न पूछें।
महाराज जी तबियत प्रणाम। महाराज जी मैं ऑडिबल सुनाई दे रहा महाराज?
यस।
महाराज जी थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर योर वंडरफुल सीरीज ऑफ लेक्चर्स। महाराज जी मेरा प्रश्न है, आपने
So question,
जो भक्ति अधिकारी और कर्म अधिकारी के बारे में जो स्पष्ट किया था,
so what you had explained about the adhikar for bhakta, for bhakti, for karma, as we see in today's society, there is no varnashram system.
किस प्रकार का occupation
So
आजकल के सिनेरियो में, जो कि वर्णाश्रम विजिबल नहीं है क्लियरली,
since varnashram is not feasible, so today the bhakta, what sort of occupation he should adopt once he understands his some physical nature, how he should choose his occupation.
अनेक प्रकार के उपलब्ध
Answer. So now also you have different types of occupations. There are some occupations
ब्राह्मण टाइप के जिनको आप कह सकते
which
हैं,
are more of sattvic nature, like studying, teaching,
काउंसलर आजकल बोलते हैं,
or counseling,
जज वकील, कुछ कार्य
or
ऐसे हैं
in
जो
the judiciary. Some activities are more of kshatriya nature, like management. Some are of business, some are of service nature. And in that also there are so many divisions. These four are very broad divisions. In that again you have further subclassifications.
अपना स्वभाव है,
So according to your swabhava, your prakriti,
अनुरूप
then
कार्य कर सकते हैं, तो उसमें आपको सुविधा रहती है,
if you function according to that, then it will be good for you. Your mind will be peaceful because you are working according to your swabhava. It is like flowing along the current of the water,
विरोध में आप
but working against one swabhava is like flowing against the current.
तो उसमें आपको ये सहूलियत रहती है, आपका जीवन
So if you work according to your swabhava, your life is more peaceful, you feel sense of satisfaction.
महाराज जी तो क्या हमारा कार्य कौन सा कार्य हम करेंगे अपने जीवन में, ये क्या पूर्व निर्धारित रहता है या हमको
So question, is it predetermined, predecided that what occupation we will be choosing in this life? Like we see in the lives of great Mahatmas, they, many things are pre-decided or forecasted that at this age they will do this. So is it pre-decided, or I have to choose it?
देखिए मैंने पहले ही कहा कि कुछ
So
चीजें
answer,
ऐसी हैं
as I said earlier, there are some things on which you have no control.
तो जो पूर्व जन्म के संस्कार हमारे माँ बाप और पूर्व जन्म के
The
संस्कार
samskaras of previous birth, like that of father, mother.
पे हमारा कोई
So the
नियंत्रण
samskaras of purva janma,
तो
the previous
इसलिए
birth, that is the result of karma.
चिंता
What
को
else?
छोड़कर
So
जो
you
आप
should not bother about that. Whatever options you have currently, you should
दैवम निहत्य कुरु
choose from that wisely.
शक्तिया कि अपने दैव को कि ये तो मेरा कर्म है मेरा पूर्व भाग्य है तो उसको छोड़ के आप अभी अपने पुरुषार्थ
So
पे
you
दीजिए हमारा
can
जीवन
should not focus on the previous daiva,
कर्म या
what you have
भाग्य
acquired from the previous
और दूसरा
janma.
हमारा पुरुषार्थ
You should focus on what you have
तो
to do
दैविक
currently.
दैविक
So
कार्य
life runs on these two
कहते हैं जो कमजोर
wheels.
व्यक्ति बुजदिल व्यक्ति
One is what we have acquired from previous birth, and the other is our own purushartha in this life.
पुरुषार्थ से काम कीजिए
So you should work according to your purushartha,
शक्ति है उसको
your
लगाइए
own
कर्म
ability.
हो तो उस पे आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते हैं जैसे
Whatever karma you have already
जो है
accrued from previous births, you can't do anything about that.
जो चीज अपरिहार्य है इनएविटेबल है
What is inevitable, you do not have any control over that. Why should you worry about that?
जान लीजिए कि ऐसा है
You should just know that it is there,
अगर आप
so that you are not in ignorance. If you have the facility to know, like our own swabhava.
जानिए
So as I advised you, you should know your swabhava.
2 दिन में इसको
But then,
दूंगा तो वो असंभव
if you think that in 2 days I will change it, then it is impossible.
सात्विक स्वभाव है तामसिक
Whether it is sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, whatever type of swabhava it is. But knowing that swabhava is useful, so that I understand who I am.
शब्द का अनेक अर्थ है आत्मा का मतलब शरीर भी होता है आत्मा का अर्थ बुद्धि मन भी
So,
होता है अहंकार
like we say, Atma Sakshatkar, self-realization. So, Atma means many things. Atma, body, mind. So, self-realization or Atma Sakshatkar means to understand the whole system, the whole.
ऐसे खाली पड़ी हुई है तो ज्यादा तो इसी को समझना है जो इतना सारा कूड़ा अंदर भरा हुआ है उसको करना है
So,
हमें
we have to understand what all is there inside our chitta.
साफ है
In Atma, what is there? What is there much there to understand? Atma is already clean. Atma is pure only.
तो पहले तो हमें इसी को समझना है
So, first you have to understand your own chitta,
ऊपर चढ़ा हुआ है कि इसमें क्या क्या
the coverings. What all coverings are there?
हम अपना कार्य कर
You have to understand that, and then you have to work accordingly.
को देखिए कि इसमें मेरे लिए
And you should see what all options you have in your life, and then choose the most favorable one, which leads you to the goal of your life.
Did you say the tendency to derive happiness is also of 3 types? You mean sattva, rajas, tamas, and temporary happiness is tamas? I didn't get what are those 3 types.
3 प्रकार के सुख जो है वो गीता के 18वें
The
अध्याय
3
में
types of happiness are explained in the 18th chapter in Gita. You can study there.
गीता के 18वें अध्याय में
In the 18th chapter in Bhagavad Gita,
प्रकार के
Bhagavan has explained 3 types of
सात्विक सुख
happiness:
राजसिक सुख
sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic.
आपका प्रश्न क्या है
What is your question?
वीरा देवी क्या प्रश्न क्या है आपका
What is your question?
Well, just to clarify, what are those 3 types? I didn't get.
हाँ तो गीता में लिखा हुआ है कि पहले
So it is written in Gita
उसको कहते हैं
that sattvic happiness is that
में
which
थोड़ा
initially
हो सकता है
may be, can give trouble, can be like austerity.
उसके लिए अभ्यास करना पड़ता है जिसको साधना
You have to practice that, what we call sadhana.
यत्र दुखांतम च निगच्छति यत्तदग्रे विषमिव परिणामे अमृतोपमं तत्सुखम सात्विकम प्रोक्तम आत्मबुद्धि प्रसादजन तो सुख जो है शुरू में
So the sattvic happiness, initially it appears like poison, because you have to work hard for that. You have to control your senses, your mind.
लेकिन उसका अंत जो है
You have to do some sadhana, but the end result
अमृत के
is like nectar.
सात्विक सुख
that is sattvic happiness. Then what is rajasic happiness?
परिणामे नहीं विषयेंद्रिय संयोगात यत्तदग्रे अमृतोपमम जो आरंभ में जो है
So rajasic sukh is or rajasic happiness is that what appears like
इंद्रिय और विषय के संयोग
nectar initially, and it is experienced by the contact of sense objects, but the ending is misery.
नहीं आता है वो
Sattvic happiness is not derived by sense pleasure, it is internal.
और जो तामसिक सुख है
And the tamasic happiness,
मोहनात्मक है आपकी बुद्धि को भ्रष्ट करता है यत्तदग्रे
it deludes our intelligence.
अनुबंध है चाहे सुखम मोहनम आत्मन निद्रा आलस्य प्रमाद सोना निद्रा में जाना आलस्य है उसमें भी सुख होता है ना आलस्य
Even in laziness, there is happiness. So that is tamasic happiness.
What is the source of this so-called voice of conscience? What is the source of so-called voice of conscience? Does it come from buddhi? The sense of right and wrong.
तो वो बोलते हैं कि हमें जो ये
So the question is, what is the source of the voice of conscience? What we get from the inner voice? This is right, wrong. So this discrimination, viveka, it comes from buddhi.
बोलती है कि ये गलत
Our buddhi tells us this is right, this is wrong,
पूर्व संस्कार के अनुसार चल
and the buddhi functions according to our previously acquired samskaras, because the buddhi is also an instrument. Our mind is an instrument,
वाला जो प्रोग्राम है
but the program that is driving them, that is inside the chitta.
और ये चार एक
Mind, intelligence, the chitta, the hankar, all these four function together. So in chitta there are samskaras and it operates the buddhi,
आत्मा मन चलता है
and with that the mind
ये
operates.
हमको जो विवेक देती है विवेक का मतलब है ये जानना कि ये गलत है या ठीक है उसके लिए आपको पूर्व
So the
अनुभव
buddhi gives us discrimination, this is right or wrong.
होना चाहिए
So for that we should have prior knowledge.
अनुमान से भी आ सकता है
It can be by hearing or by inference. So all those samskaras are in the chitta.
नहीं कर सकते
Without chitta, buddhi cannot do anything.
तो बुद्धि का मतलब होता है ये
So buddhi means
बताना
to tell
कि ये ठीक है ये गलत है
that this is right, this is wrong,
लेकिन वो बताएगी चित्त के अनुसार
but it will tell according to the chitta.
करेंगे तो बुद्धि भी
So if you purify your chitta, then your buddhi will also get purified. But if your chitta is impure, buddhi will also remain impure. So the voice that you speak of, some people say that Paramatma is telling. Paramatma is not telling anything. That voice that is coming from your chitta only.
शांत चित्त खड़ा हुआ है
Paramatma is quiet.
तो सबके लिए
It's just witness. Paramatma says that I am equal to all.
वो तो साक्षी रहता है
Paramatma is just a sakshi, a witness.
खाया समानम वृक्षम तो जैसे दो एक पेड़ पर दो पक्षी बैठे
Like on a tree there are two birds. So the Paramatma
ये तो कह रहा है दूसरा
is just looking at the other bird. The one is eating the fruits, the other is just watching. So Paramatma is just witness.
निर्गुणस्य उपनिषद में कहा कि वो केवल साक्षी है निर्गुण है
Paramatma is just the witness, nirguna.
केवल है शुद्ध है राग द्वेष विहीन
It is pure, it is free from ragadvesh, meaning it has no, Paramatma has no attachment.
ये समान है
So Paramatma is equal to all.
तो ठीक करो कुछ भी
Whether you do something right, wrong,
तो कर्म का फल मिलेगा
you will get the result of your karma.
और कुछ हो गया शैलेश जी
In that if we meditate on the bad qualities of other people, then we acquire those qualities. I'm wondering why is it so, or how this mechanism works? Because if I find that some qualities, dislikable, then why would I acquire that?
इसका ऐसा होता है कि उनका प्रश्न
So
ये है
his question is that, as I said,
दोषों पर
when we meditate on others' faults, we also get influenced by that,
गुण है वो
and those faults they influence us also. How does this mechanism work? Why does it happen like this? So answer, what happens is that when we see faults in others and we discuss that, then we derive lot of pleasure in that discussion. And whatever gives us pleasure, it creates samskaras in the chitta.
और दुखानुशाही द्वेष पतंजलि अपने योग सूत्र में कहते
So
हैं
Patanjali says in the Yoga Sutra that whatever gives you pleasure, you get attached to that.
जाता है तो मतलब
And when you get attached to that, that means it is holding on to your chitta.
कर रहे हैं
So when you are criticizing others, you are finding faults in others, in that you are deriving pleasure.
उसका एक संस्कार पड़ रहा है
And when you derive pleasure, it is creating a samskara in your chitta.
थोड़े पड़ रहे हैं
It is not creating samskara in the other's chitta.
प्रभावित करेगा
So that will influence you also.
तो इसलिए ऐसा होता तो भागवत में वो कथा है ना कि वो
So
जो
in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, we have that story.
कीट को पकड़ के लाके अपने उसमें घर में रख देता है और वो कीट जो है वो उससे बहुत भयपूर्ण रहता है और वो भयपूर्ण भय के कारण उसके ऊपर चिंता करता रहता है तो चिंता करते करते वो भी भ्रमरी बन जाता है तो भय तो
So
एक
the
दोष है,
insect
डर
meditates
इसलिए चिंता कर रहा है डर के कारण उसकी चिंता करता है आप दोष के कारण चिंता कर रहे हैं तो
due
आप
to
भी वैसा करो
fault you are meditating on others due to your own fault, and then you will become like that only.
राग और द्वेष दोनों का ये संस्कार गहरा पड़ता है
Raga and Dvesh both create very deep samskaras inside.
लोगों को देखते हैं आपसे
So
पूछते हैं
when you are
कितने
walking, you see so many things. If I ask you how many colors did you see while walking on the road, can you reply?
के व्यक्ति
How many types of trees, how many types of human beings did you see? You will not be able to recall. But if you met somebody whom you know, you will be able to recall, yes, I met him.
कार में जा रहा है आपने देख लिया उसने देखा भी नहीं आपको
So if somebody is in the car, even if he did not see you, but you saw that person, you will remember
राग द्वेष
because you have some rag dvesh with that person.
तो उसका संस्कार पड़ता है
So that creates samskara.
संस्कार से ही चलता है सब
And then everything functions according to the samskara. Like nowadays you have artificial intelligence.
अपने आप को एजुकेट करती है
So artificial intelligence educates itself.
उसको जैसा अनुभव है तो वो अपने आप को प्रोग्राम करती रहती है ना
It keeps programming itself.
वैसे ही चलता है
So our situation is also like that only.
तो हम अपने आप को अपने संस्कार
We
अपने अनुभव के अनुसार मॉडिफाई करते
we keep modifying our chitta by new samskaras and experiences. Like people say AI gets trained.
हैं यूट्यूब पर जाके कुछ
If you watch some video in YouTube,
वैसे ही 50 वीडियो
then YouTube will show more videos which are similar to that because YouTube understands that this is what you like. So YouTube has been programmed like that. So our chitta also works in the similar way.
ठीक है और भी है कुछ बोलो
दीपक जी का प्रश्न है मैं
Next
यहाँ देखता
question.
हूँ कि
I find that when I listen to Bhagavad Gita classes, I am enthused from the teachings. But after some time, it feels almost like I never listened to the class. And when situation presents itself, I cannot put the teachings in place. What can I do to change?
तो इनको बार बार सुनो
So answer here repeatedly.
से ना जायते दृढ़ तरह संस्कार ये संस्कार में एक दृढ़ता यानी कि शक्ति होती है
In samskara, there is a power.
शक्तिशाली
So
संस्कार होता है
whichever samskara is more powerful,
प्रभावित करता है
it will influence us more.
संस्कार होता है वो
Whichever samskara is weak, it will not be able to influence us much. So whatever you want to be influenced by, you have to strengthen that samskara. And there are two ways of strengthening that samskara. One is by doing it again and again. Like if I have to memorize a verse,
बहुत ही प्रखर
there are very few people who are so intelligent or who have such memory that they just read once and they can remember it. But ordinarily people have to read or memorize again and again.
तो उसका एक ग्रूव बनता जाता है गहरा
So it creates a strong and strong groove in your chitta, and then that samskara becomes very strong. Then
जिस चीज का
you will be able to recall
उसका हमको बार बार
in the appropriate situation. So whatever you want to make strong, you have to repeatedly do that, repeatedly hear that, And if we do that with raga, then it will become more strong. So samskara gets strength by repetition and by ragadvesh. So there are some actions in which there is so much ragadvesh that once you do that, whole life you can remember it, because the ragadvesh was very strong in that activity.
संदीप जी कृपया अपना प्रश्न पूछें।
प्रणाम बाबा जी महाराज। मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि जैसे दुर्योधन और धृतराष्ट्र की
So question, like you gave the example of Duryodhan and Dhritarashtra, they were in the royal family. They had knowledge of all the Dharma Shastra, Artha Shastra from the childhood.
लेकिन उसके बाद भी जब विदुर जी ने या फिर अक्रूर जी
But
ने
despite
उनको शिक्षा दी,
Vidur instructing them, Akrurji instructing them,
काम किया होगा कि देखिए
there
मेरा बेटा राजा है, मैं उसका पिता हूँ, तो मेरी जीवन भर देखभाल करता रहेगा अगर मैं इनको दे दूं। मेरा क्वेश्चन शॉर्ट में ये है
so my question in brief
सामान्य व्यक्ति हैं,
is
हम
that
कैसे
like ordinary people like us, how can we recognize
धर्म की जो शिक्षा हमें मिल रही है वो सही
that
है
the
या धर्म
what
के
we are
नाम पे
learning about dharma is correct, or it is wrong in the name of dharma? How do we discriminate? So answer, yes, you can discriminate only when you know what is dharma, when you already know what is dharma. If you know beforehand what is dharma, then only you can understand that the person, whatever he is speaking, it is according to dharma or no. Otherwise, how will you be able to discriminate?
कहीं तो आप शिक्षा प्रारंभ करेंगे ना गुरुदेव।
तो शिक्षा प्रारंभ इसलिए तो श्रद्धा से बोला ना, क्या बोला भगवान ने, श्रद्धावंतो अनुसूयंतो।
So yes, you have to begin somewhere, so that beginning happens with shraddha.
श्रद्धा से ही चलता है। श्रद्धा का मतलब होता है कि मेरा इन व्यक्ति में विश्वास है और मैं इनकी
Shraddha
बात
means I have faith in this person, I listen to him, I follow him. So Shraddha is the beginning.
नहीं तो आप हर जगह संशय करते रहिए,
Otherwise, you keep suspecting everybody, doubting everybody, then you will not be able to do anything.
तो आरंभ तो श्रद्धा से ही होता है।
So the beginning happens with Shraddha only.
ठीक है,
थैंक यू।
चलो प्रार्थना श्लोक। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपाल नंदनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। एकं शास्त्रं देवकी पुत्र गीतम् एको देवो देवकी पुत्र एव। एको मंत्रस्तस्य नामानि यानि कर्माप्येकं तस्य देवस्य सेवा। कार्पण्यदोषोपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः। यच्छ्रेयः स्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं साधिमां त्वां प्रपन्नम्। यत्र योगेश्वरः कृष्णो यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धरः तत्र श्रीर्विजयो भूतिर् ध्रुवा नीतिर्मतिर्मम। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांघ्रये भवे भवे यथा भक्तिः पादयोस्तव जायते तथा कुरुष्व देवेश नाथस्त्वं नो यतः प्रभो नाम संकीर्तनं यस्य सर्वपाप प्रणाशनं प्रणामो दुःखशमनस्तं नमामि हरिं परम् हरि ओम तत्सत्।